Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mel Parkinson and I work in the Scottish Government Early Learning and Childcare Directorate. We're here today to celebrate the 2020 Innovation Awards. But first of all, here's some logistical housekeeping things around keeping your microphone off if you're not speaking, be present within the session if possible, use the chat function for any questions or queries or help with technical issues. And if you'd like to tweet about the section, please use the hashtag SLF online. So what are we here today to talk about? So this is the Power of Creative Practice session within the Scottish Learning Festival. And I'm delighted to be here to celebrate and share some really innovative practices from the 2020 winners of the ELC Innovation Awards. So, as I said before, throughout today's session, please feel free to ask any questions in the chat bar, and we'll hopefully have some time at the end to answer these and to go over any reflections from the presenters. So, what is the ELC Innovation Awards? In late 2019, all ELC settings were invited to apply for the Scottish Government's Early Learning and Childcare Innovation Awards, and this was by showcasing high-quality innovative aspect of the practice that would result in improved outcomes for children and their families. And 8 settings from across Scotland were successful at gaining this award in 2020. So these 8 winners are Bean Cross Primary School, Cathkin Community Nursery, Hillsop Nursery School, Hillview Nursery, Mayfield Nursery School, Parkhead Community Nursery, Sheephouse Nursery and Stobhill ELC. So I'd like to give a quick snapshot of all the 8 winners. You will be hearing from 4 of these winners in a bit more detail, but I thought it might be helpful to give a little sort of snapshot of their practices. So first of all is Bean Cross. So they have collaborated with Learning Through Landscapes to deliver an outdoor learning programme called Nurturing Nature. This is a family learning initiative for children and families within the nursery, and also some parents have been leading the sessions for the families too. So Bean Cross have now created a Back to Nature universal strategy, and that's been embedded a universal approach by nurturing nature within the nursery environment. Bean Cross have also offered out afternoon teas and Back to Nature open days, which have had outstanding engagement from families in their settings.
You might be interested in this one. Do you want to
Cathkin are been supporting their LGBT plus families within the setting and also the wider community. Staff in Cathkin have been able to analyse their own attitudes, relationships with gender, and think more about any unconscious bias they may have and how that kind of affects their practice. Cathkin have also purchased lots of gender neutral resources for the nursery as well, and you'll hear a bit more about this later on. Next up we have a Hillsop Nursery School, who have been working to improve the health and well-being of children and families and raising attainment as set out in Glasgow's Improvement Challenge. So Hillsop identified staff professional skills, participated in training with SECRO to give a clear perspective of the impact of asylum-seeking families, as they were quite relevant in that area. Children at Hillsop have had opportunities to see the world beyond their immediate environment and opportunities to participate in different learning situations. And prior to the pandemic, this also included visiting local care homes, travelling on public transport, and also they took part in the Glasgow Film Festival Theatre. Now going on to Hillview. Hillview are supporting families and children to understand how maths connects to everyday life, promoting a growth mindset approach, working with children to improve their confidence, to understand their abilities are not fixed and they can improve their skills through effort and dedication. Families have become aware of how young children's attitudes about maths and how they felt about maths, both positively and negatively, and sort of begin to recognise the importance of supporting their child to build a love of maths. And you'll hear a bit more about this project later on. Next up we have Mayfield Nursery School. So Mayfield has supported the development of emotional regulation through shared language strategy for dealing with challenging behaviour. And this includes engaging with parents to support that as well. And they're using video recordings to support racial trust, professional discussions that enables practitioners to take responsibility for developing their own practices. So you'll hear a wee bit more about this project later on. Now we have Parkhead Community Nursery, and they are facilitating children and parents a community growing and nutrition programme, and that includes classes helping families learn to cook healthy meals together. Parents can also train as a cooking and eating ambassadors through the programme, and also gives them accreditation. Next we have the last two, which are Sheephouse Nursery. So Sheephouse created an alternative learning space called the Barn and an outdoor playroom. This gives children the opportunities to develop their risky play activities, cook on open fires, knives and saws and axes, and providing that sort of support in numeracy and literacy, and also health and wellbeing and children's confidence. And you'll hear more about that in a little bit. And lastly, we have Stop Hill ELC, and Stop Hill developed an inter-age STEM programme to equip children with key STEM skills by participating in one targeted STEM experience a week. And then we're engaging with parents with take-home packs and play sessions to develop their children's learning at home as well. So that is all the 8 settings. So now I'm going to pass on to the Minister for Children and Young People, Claire Haughey, who is going to give you a quick formal introduction. Thank you.
Hello, as Minister for Children and Young People, I'm delighted to be here to introduce this session at the Scottish Learning Festival, showcasing innovative practices from across the early learning and childcare sector. It would have been lovely for us all to be taking part in this session in person. However, as has become the norm, we're together in the virtual world. We know that high quality early learning and childcare can make a huge difference to children's lives, particularly when they are growing up in more disadvantaged circumstances. Evidence shows that universally accessible, high quality ELC helps to provide children with skills and confidence to carry into school education, and is a cornerstone for closing the poverty-related attainment gap between children from the most and least deprived communities. Quality is at the heart of our approach to early learning and childcare. That's why it's so important for us to recognise and celebrate the powerful and creative work that has been going on across the ELC sector, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. In late 2019, early learning and childcare settings were invited to apply for the Scottish Government's Early Learning and Childcare Innovation Awards by showcasing a high-quality innovative aspect of their practice that would result in improved outcomes for children and their families. 8 settings from across Scotland were successful at gaining this award, and I would like to commend the work of these 8 settings who have gone above and beyond to support their children and families through their innovative practice. The presenters today are all winners of this award, and it's fantastic that we're able to hear directly from David at Cathkin Nursery, who's supporting LGBT+ families within the setting, Lisa from Mayfield Nursery, who's supporting emotional regulation and finding different ways to challenge behaviour, and Jillian from Hillview Nursery, who's working to improve children's early math skills by using the growth mindset approach to build confidence and resilience in maths. And Angela from Sheephouse Nursery, who has created an alternative learning space in an outdoor playroom to maximise opportunities for risky play activities. I hope you enjoy the session.
And now we're going to hear from David from Cathkin.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Dick. I work for South Lanarkshire Council, and I'm just going to give you a snapshot this afternoon about our Early Learning Childcare Innovation Award, which was awarded for developing inclusive approaches to LGBT+ education in early learning childcare settings for parents, children and practitioners. The project was designed to address issues surrounding LGBT+ inclusion in early years settings. We know from research that LGBT plus parent and caregivers' experiences are often erased, ignored and are not represented, whereas heterosexual parents' experiences and caregivers are presented as the only possible type of family unit. This negatively impacts upon children of LGBT plus parents because they never get to see their family structures represented in stories, resources or play opportunities. The themes surrounding these issues also include children's understanding of gender stereotypes, conformity and transgression, and practitioners' interactions, and these all play their part in rifling the heterosexuality as the privileged superior norm in everyday playroom discourse and in children's imaginative play scripts. The aim of the project was to be able to evidence at least 5 practical examples of LGBT plus friendly practice. Our driver diagram for the project shows you some of the things that we were working through, from the change ideas towards the secondary drivers towards the primary drivers. I'll just quickly go through some of the 4 main primary drivers. So practitioners or interactions, this was really key, and this was the foundation because we had to have a forum for practitioners to have discussions and ask open and frank questions. And I delivered an extensive 2.5-hour training sessions surrounding gender stereotyping, the understanding of gender as a binary, but also as a construction, and also how that affects children's understanding of heterosexuality and how as adults we have unconscious biases and we sometimes avoid certain subjects because we think children don't have experience of that. But when we do things like that, we are not representing and we are not supporting children who have parents and caregivers who are LGBT plus. The second primary driver was involving parents, and that involved also being very upfront and honest and also giving parents the chance to ask questions. We shared information with them during parent information sessions and also with a leaflet, and then inviting them to look at the resources and the storybooks we got. Children's experiences were also key. We recorded conversations, we used the storybooks as provocations to open out conversations with them, and we also observed them during their play. In the resources environment, we purchased new storybooks and resources to increase the representation of diversity, and we also ensured that our environment was gender neutral. So some of the results: the qualitative data analysis showed most children had clear understandings of gender conformity and norms surrounding heterosexual families, but universally had positive attitudes once introduced to new concepts such as having 2 dads or mums. The practitioner interviews revealed how practitioners can play a key role in either facilitating, erasing or disrupting children's understandings through their interactions. One of the most effective ways of developing children's understanding or expanding their worldview is for practitioners to ask key questions during play opportunities, or asking them things like, well, why can't you have 2 mums? Or you can have 2 dads and here's a book to show it. The Practitioner Survey also highlighted an increased confidence amongst practitioners in LGBT issues after being given training, and they appreciated the opportunity to discuss the issues freely. And it was through that as a whole setting we came to a shared understanding of why it was important that we continued to do this work. The storybooks themselves were a key source of provocation. These were really the most useful resource to begin the conversations with children and to introduce them to the new concepts. Some of the practitioner comments about the project: somebody said, "I am so much more aware of the things I say and the things I see in play. I feel much more able to challenge stereotypical thinking in children." And another practitioner said, "I never realised that LGBT plus parents and caregivers were not being given their place in our setting. I understand the need for our approach towards diversity to show in resources, policy and practice." So I created this guide towards best practice for early years settings. As I said, starting at the top, practitioner training is absolutely key and fundamental. Being upfront and honest with the parents and carers in your setting and knowing your families really well is so important. Develop your gender neutral play environment. Provide storybooks and resources with LGBT family representation and have them displayed throughout the year. It's not just a one-off project. You know, that has to be built into the fabric of everyday playroom discourse. Practitioners need to recognise how their interactions can facilitate, support or challenge stereotypes, and a constant need to self-evaluate and reflect, to analyse practice and continue to improve. These last two slides are just some of the storybooks that we bought. So the focus was really on about equality, equity and diversity, and giving children the opportunity to understand that families come in all different shapes and sizes, and children also come in all different shapes and sizes. And it's okay to be different, and it's okay to express yourself in all different kinds of ways. This is the second slide. So we ended up buying a lot more books than this as well. But if anybody wants to know more about this, or would like me to send you the list of resources that I bought for the project, I can give you my email address at the end of this session. Okay, thanks everybody.
Thank you so much, David. That was fantastic. So next we have Lisa from Mayfield Nursery, and there's going to be a picture of the driver diagram put in the chat, so if you look out for that as well. Thank you.
Sorry, folks, just 1 second and I'll get the right thing up for you.
So a lot of people are saying in the chat that a list of resources would be really helpful. So I can check in with David and make sure we can let you know the resources.
Hello, my name is Lisa Barnes and I'm the head teacher at Mayfield Nursery School in Midlothian. Our innovation project has focused on supporting children to develop their emotional self-regulation. Why did we choose this? 2 reasons really. Firstly, it's one of the central focus areas of our curriculum. Mayfield Nursery School is in a priority area, and the evidence is that emotional self-regulation skills enable children to engage in the learning experiences on offer at nursery. So for us, it is important that all staff are skilled in this area. Secondly, when the project was initially developed, Mayfield Nursery School had recently nearly doubled in capacity as part of the expansion of early learning and childcare. This meant that we welcomed a significant number of new staff. Whilst existing staff had worked hard over a number of years to develop innovative practice to support young children to develop their emotional self-regulation, understandably, new staff did not share the same understanding and had not developed the same skills. The research and evidence base highlights both the importance of developing emotional regulation to develop self-regulation for learning, and the importance of consistency of practice to achieve high quality early learning and childcare. So how did we approach the project? This is a complex piece of work with many moving parts. It involves interconnection between many areas to achieve the overall aim. The first significant thing for us was to unpick the different elements of the project so that we could be clear about each small area of focus. And for this, we used a driver diagram. The driver diagram helped us to articulate the individual change ideas whilst also preserving the interconnectedness of our project. It also helps staff to understand the overall change theory and how each of the individual actions or change ideas connected to our overall work. By the time we came to start our work, we were in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. This meant that we added to the original plan the work that we were undertaking together to ensure our own well-being as staff. A crucial part of supporting children to regulate their emotions is adults themselves being regulated, calm, and attuned to each individual child. Only when our well-being is stable are we able to share our calm with the child. Another significant step for us in this innovation journey was focusing on a specific aim which looked like it had less reach than we commonly have in a school improvement plan. This aim needed to be specific, clear, and measurable. This is not to say that our usual improvement work does not focus on outcomes, but you will see from our aim that this project aim was very tight. Our overall aim was that by the end of June 2021, 3 staff will experience improved confidence and skill in applying self-regulation strategies to support children. I don't have time to talk about change, so I'm going to focus on some of our key learning related to the work we did implement as part of the project. This part focused on staff understanding of scripts that will support children to develop their emotional self-regulation, why these scripts work, and this included staff knowledge of scripts and their understanding of when to use these scripts. First of all, we looked at what are the scripts and why they support children's developing self-regulation. And we've been doing this for a while, and we have developed staff training here. In the past, staff training was enough because we tended to have 1 new member of staff at a time, and they could be supported in a team where everyone else was using the scripts consistently. However, with so many new staff, due to expansion, there were less staff experienced at working this way, and many more staff who were new to this kind of work. So we found that the training that used to work actually wasn't enough for new staff in this context to make them feel confident in this area of their practice. So we decided to video an experienced member of staff using the scripted language in practice, and then dedicate time to watch this as a class team and engage in professional discussion. So what did we learn from this? The video was really effective because it was clear what the scripts were and how they could be used. Staff could actually identify the scripts in action. Staff could also see how a skilled, attuned adult used these scripts in different situations and with different children. As the weeks went by, staff observed the impact that using these scripts in an attuned and skilled way had in terms of supporting children to develop their self-regulation skills. Making sure there was protected time to watch and discuss the footage gave staff dedicated time in their room team to engage in professional discussion. It made it clear that this kind of reflection was important and worthwhile. It supported new staff to develop their observation skills, and importantly, it developed relational trust. For us, the development of relational trust has been key to the overall work of this project.
I'll have a look.
Relational trust has helped staff to engage in more honest conversations about practice because staff feel able and safe to do so. Honest conversations and reflecting on practice have been modelled by more experienced members of staff, and so new staff can see that looking at and reflecting on our interactions is not a scary process. It actually allows us to acknowledge strengths and consider what we can improve in a supportive way. Where before someone might have shied away from admitting where they found something tricky or thought that feedback was critical of them as a practitioner, now they can see that honest professional discussion is how we improve our practice together in a nurturing way. We also saw the power of spending time using film footage to support staff to transfer underpinning knowledge of theory into action in their practice. It really made the learning visible to the adults. For us, the learning improvement continues, and relational trust and honest conversations are central to this learning and improvement. Staff have developed their confidence to use video to support us all to develop our practice, and we will be continuing to use video, firstly as part of a new project looking at promoting adult-child interaction strategies. The depth of professional discussions about practice will be of huge benefit as we continue to improve our practice. We've also increased our understanding of the different ways we can measure improvement and impact on outcomes for children. If you're interested in finding out more about our work, please contact us at Mayfield Nursery School in Midlothian.
Thank you, Lisa. That was really interesting. Using videos to record is an interesting way to go forward. So the next presenter is Jillian from Hillsop Nursery.
We are delighted to be nominated as a Practitioner Innovation. So what's next? We want to keep improving outcomes for our children and our families.
In recognising that 71% of our 3 to 5-year-olds require support to achieve numeracy milestones, of which 76% were experiencing poverty-related barriers, we recognise that early intervention was key.
We focused on working with children and families to promote a growth mindset approach, through to play, greater enthusiasm of maths and promote positive attitudes, and develop high expectations, confidence and resilience within maths.
We want to tackle Scotland's maths problem by confronting some deep-rooted cultural myths and assumptions. For example, the beliefs that some people are naturally or innately good at maths and others are not.
Unlike children say they feel anxious about their math ability. Our vision is to help transform Scotland into a maths positive nation.
Moving forward, we ensure differentiation by providing different levels of support. Firstly, targeted numeracy support for an identified group of children within the nursery. Secondly, learning the value of working with families who benefit most from the support. We then led numeracy peep sessions for the community to help build an understanding of how through play and hands-on experiences families can support numeracy at home, outdoors and in the wider community. Finally, we also carried out numeracy audits and self-training to support staff to understand how maths can be supported in everyday play.
Maths is big, maths is small. It's fun! Maths is everywhere, Mum. It's tricky, but keeps practicing.
Our aim was to increase maths and numeracy attainment of an identified group of ante, pre and preschool children, thus reducing the poverty-related gap by 40% by June 2021. In creating our aim, we recognised the importance of taking our time and identifying what improvement tools would help our improvement journey. Making the best use of quality improvement QI tools through our discussions and our experiences. We understand the value data can have in changing practice and improving ways of working. We used a Pareto chart to identify barriers and a driver diagram to consider our primary and secondary drivers and possible change ideas. This could be seen when data show children's absence were affecting progression. We were then able to adapt practice to support home learning and look at one-to-one support for these children so they all had an opportunity to reach their full potential.
After our targeted 76% of our children enrolled progressed to expected levels of maths and numeracy development. Within the introduction of our peak parental programme and improving numeracy environments, we saw a further increase to 83% of all children meeting expected levels within maths and numeracy.
The poverty-related maths and numeracy gap is significantly reduced. Previously, Previously, there was a 72% gap between the most and least deprived, quintile 1 versus quintile 5. The gap has now reduced to 21%. The gap for those eligible for free school meals has also reduced from 28% to 15%.
We understand the importance of working with others to tackle Scotland's maths problem on a bigger scale. We're on a nursery work together to deliver a repeat programme in the local community, raising awareness on how to support maths through everyday play experiences.
Supported families and children to understand how maths connects to everyday life, promoting a growth mindset approach and working with children improve confidence to understand that their abilities are not fixed and that they can improve their skills through effort and dedication.
47% of our families are now extremely confident and 53% are somewhat confident in supporting numeracy outdoors. The positive impact of our intervention on children's attainment and reducing the poverty gap can see within our results. On average, families reported a 29% increase in understanding of how to support early maths and numeracy.
Maths and numeracy training has supported educators' confidence to lead parental programmes and improve maths and numeracy environments. This has supported children to make progression over time. Our key messages: targeted support and differentiation is key to improving outcomes and achieving equality. Work to mitigate gaps impacts positively on children's outcome and reduce poverty gaps. Using and interpreting data effectively is key in understanding gaps and identifying which improvements have most impact. Positive mindset to maths within families and children is vital to raising attainment and reducing gaps. Understanding obvious barriers is a key effective to improvement planning.
Qualitative and quantitative data can be used effectively to evidence improvements. Poverty is not destiny. With the right support, all children can make progress regardless of social barriers. Positive engagement with parents impacts positively on attempts to close the poverty-related attainment gap.
Maths makes me think. Maths should be happy. Maths is playing.
Hey, thank you, Jillian, for that. It was lovely to see all the smiles and happy faces of the kids, and it just shows you what you can do when you're outdoors in day-to-day life and making maths fun. So last but not least is Angela from Sheephouse Nursery.
Hi everyone, my name is Angela Savage and I am the Early Learning and Childcare Manager at Sheephouse Nursery. Sheephouse Nursery is based in Falthouse, West Lothian and has room for 43 children aged 0 to 12. We strive to provide a home from home and individualised approach, and our team do things the Sheephouse way, which enables our children to grow and flourish and to achieve their potential across the curriculum. Falthouse is in an area of deprivation and is on the SIMD second centile. Our innovation journey began in 2019. Through effective use of observations and room monitoring, our team observed that some of our children were not engaging in learning opportunities in the indoor environment, as they became so engrossed in different types of play, for example role play. However, their learning could be consolidated outdoors. To support this, we built an outdoor playroom which the children named the Barn in order to effectively support all of our children to achieve their potential in learning whilst promoting the National Improvement Framework's priority of raising attainment and to close the poverty-related attainment gap. The aim of the project was that 75% of children would make progress in literacy, numeracy and health and well-being by having regular opportunities to access both high-quality indoor and outdoor environments. I am pleased to say that the aim of the project was met successfully. Between August 2020 and August 2021, to make progress and identify any areas for improvement, a range of collection methods were used, including the use of the Leuven scale to measure levels of well-being and engagement in both environments, comparison data to measure the impact of the project after involvement, and by measuring data of preschool children and the preschool children, and finally comparison data between the most and least disadvantaged children. Our team planned and facilitated more play-based literacy and numeracy opportunities in both the indoor and outdoor environment. The use of the West Lothian Early Years Tracker highlighted where there were gaps in children's learning, which then allowed targeted play-based learning opportunities to be implemented, which extended and consolidated learning. The senior team made an application to the Early Years Inclusion Fund in order to support child-led planning, individual learning styles and adaptations to the environment. Our team's involvement in different training, including My World Outdoors, Out to Play, Realising the Ambition and Risk and Play training delivered by Broxburn Family Centre, has supported the delivery of more outdoor play and learning opportunities and afforded our children new skills to support health and well-being, including fire building and cooking, whittling and the use of knots and knives. Additionally, our team took part in training based on the early level progression pathways through partnership with the West Lothian and Forth Valley Regional Improvement Collaborative. This upskilled our practitioners by developing skills and increasing knowledge around phonics, phonological awareness and numerical concepts. As a result, our children are progressing in their learning across the early level. As a result of effective monitoring, I delivered training to support quality observations and interactions and effective use of the Early Years Tracker. As a result, our team have developed in confidence when tracking children's progress and has supported our children to achieve their potential in learning. So what are the results of the project? The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic can be seen in the levels of health and well-being across preschool children, with levels slightly lower in 2021 than in 2020. This could be due to periods of closure. The positive impact of this project can be seen in literacy and numeracy, where levels of attainment are consistently higher in 2021 than they were in 2020, with more children now on track or achieving beyond the expected level at the end of their preschool year. Furthermore, similar results can be seen in levels of attainment in health and well-being across anti-preschool children between 2019 and 2021. The impact of the COVID-19 pandemic can be seen in the number of children achieving beyond the expected level in 2020. However, 37.5% more children are on track in 2021 than they were in 2019. There has been a steady decline in children achieving below the expected level in literacy and numeracy between 2019 and 2021. There has been a 4% dip of those achieving beyond the expected level in literacy, which could be due to the impact of the pandemic. However, children achieving beyond the expected level in numeracy has increased by 16.5%. Within the project data, we can also see the impact of the poverty-related attainment gap and how this has had an impact on the most disadvantaged children. Data shows there is still a sizable attainment gap between the most and least disadvantaged children across literacy, numeracy, and health and wellbeing. The use of tracking data is currently being used to implement targeted interventions through collaborative multi-agency working. Moving forward, anti-preschool children will continue to be tracked in order to measure the impact of the project on their learning. As levels of health and wellbeing are lower than expected, probably due to the pandemic, Health and Wellbeing will form the improvement plan for the 21-22 session to support COVID recovery, as well as the aim to raise attainment across literacy at the early level due to the current needs of our children. Due to the success of the project and the progress our children have made across the curriculum, outdoor learning will continue to play an imperative part in the ethos of Sheephouse Nursery. Practitioners working with our youngest children will be supported to attend training sessions to afford our children more opportunities for outdoor learning across literacy, numeracy and health and wellbeing. Thank you all for listening.
You've got a circle, and how many sides did your circle got? One. Lachlan, what shape have you got? And you get one side. And is yours and Grace's the same? Yeah. And you're just going to make some circles with all of this back. Well done. How many are you going to put round it, Lachlan? 100 to find that big circle. Yeah. And what shape was yours, Riley? A square. And how many sides does your square have? Well, we count them. So 1, 2, 3, 4.
4. I got.
Good job.
You can find your name? I'm not talking about it.
Is it this one? Is it this one? Good girl.
I found the name for my doctor.
Yeah, oh, well done, Blair. You got a feed for Blair?
Yes.
Good job. Good job. Well done, Grace. What's that? D for Grace. What shapes do you have?
Star, rock, and flower.
Oh, well done. Are you going to do it all the way around your shape?
Yeah. I like it with it.
You made it there, Blair. All the way round.
Yeah. Then all the way round. And only one last place to go. Yeah.
It's a blue one. It's a blue. What shape? It's got 3 sides.
Triangle.
It's a blue triangle, Lachlan. Well done. And what about this one?
Well, I need a triangle.
A green triangle. A circle. How many nails do we have on it? Right, you could count them if your name, we could do it together.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34,
37. So we've got lots of nails there. That was super counting. Well done, guys.
Thank you so much. That was a lovely presentation and really nice to see some footage of the kids as well, and fantastic counting, amazing. So we've got a few minutes left, just a couple of minutes left of this session. If anyone wants to put their hand up to ask any questions or anything, please feel free. I know we've only got a couple of minutes left, so if we don't answer all questions, we can get back to you. But I hope that's been really interesting and helpful for you. So if you just want to raise your hand and ask a question or put in the chat, then please go ahead. And I also want a barn too, it's fantastic. Oh, is someone asking a question there? I can't hear. Oh, sorry, I can't really hear you. Would you be able to put it in the chat at all? It's really quiet. No, sorry, I'm unable to hear. Would you be able to just put it in the chat at all? Thank you. I think that's time anyway, but if anyone else wants to put any reflections or any questions in the chat, please go ahead. We'll keep it open for another 5-10 minutes. But thank you so much to all of the presentations today. They're really fantastic and really interesting. So yeah. Oh, yeah. People are just saying thank you, so that's great. Brilliant. Well, if you want to get in touch at all, there's some email addresses in the chat, or there's my email address as well, and it's melissa.parkinson@gov.uk, not gov.uk, sorry, gov.scot. So if you want to ask any more further questions, please just get in touch. But thank you all for coming today, and I hope you're all well.